Hello and welcome to Franklinton. I'm Nick Stanage. This has been my home for the last 8 years. This neighborhood has offered me incredible opportunity for personal growth and development as a young entrepreneur who's been able to pursue a self-defined journey of urban farming, of home remodeling while finishing grad school at OSU and building a well-recognized nonprofit organization, Franklinton Farms. I moved into this neighborhood in 2010 in the wake of the recession's foreclosure crisis. The neighborhood was an affordable neighborhood to me as a limited income grad student making $18,000 a year. And at that time, housing was really inexpensive. Many blocks were 50% vacant and struggling with multiple decades of disinvestment and general abandonment. I was fortunate to mobilize community and family support around this preponderance of vacant space and affordable land and help lead some of its transformation into stable, affordable housing in a highly productive and well-regarded urban agriculture landscape that grows food for our community. Property tax abatements offered through the city certainly helped. So over my time living here and working in Franklinton, I've been thrilled to be part of a community of leaders that have driven massive change here in the neighborhood. The scale of transformation here in East Franklinton has been stunning and really inspiring. Entire blocks of existing infrastructure have been knocked down and rebuilt in just a few years, and the power of well-coordinated development is clearly being demonstrated. I'm excited for what the next few years will bring here in both East and West Franklinton. Now, however, this rapid and massive change of a neighborhood's housing landscape does have very real and disruptive implications for the preponderance of low-income families and individuals that live here in Franklinton. We can't forget that 75% of the households are tenant-based in West Franklinton, and they make less than half of Columbus's AMI. If this strong development trend that we see here in East Franklinton continues into West Franklinton without consideration for those of limited income, we're going to continue to see a dramatic increase in poverty-induced stress, unrest, and crippling drug abuse as market rates force people out of their homes and either into the streets or into already overcrowded houses of their friends and existing family members. The housing market generally neglects those who can't afford it as a commodity, and government and nonprofit agencies must step in and incentivize the private sector to offer affordable and stable housing for those whose situations would otherwise preclude them from it. The Columbus housing market has recently grown into one of the strongest in the country, and affordable housing incentives through tax abatements are one way to encourage housing affordability in our city and in Franklinton. To further discuss Columbus's near-term strategy for tax abatements and affordable housing, I'm now pleased to introduce City of Columbus Mayor Andrew J. Ginther.
Thank you. Good morning. What a great morning here in the city of Columbus, in Columbus's original neighborhood here in Franklinton. It's where it all started back with Lucas Sullivan, couple of hundred of years ago. I'm thrilled to be here today with CMHA, the Department of Development, and Director Shoney and his team, a dynamic duo from Columbus City Council. We would not be here today without the leadership and advocacy and work of council members Liz Brown and Jiza Page and all of their colleagues, President Hardin. We appreciate their effort. If we had a dynamic duo on council, we had a dream team of developers to work with on this project. You think of Bob Weiler, you think of the Casto Company, you think of all the great partners, you know, Mark Kane and Smoot Construction, all the team that made this happen, and our incredible ongoing partnership to have James Irvin here from CMHA, the vice chair of the board there. We're thrilled of this partnership. This project, as you all can see, is nearing completion. It represents another step in the revitalization of Franklinton into a mixed income neighborhood. In January, we stood at Poindexter Place on the Near East Side and announced new policies that will help in the revitalization of our neighborhoods that need it most. Those policy recommendations came from studies we commissioned. Since then, we have had numerous public meetings to get feedback from our neighborhoods and held collaborative conversations with our partners in Columbus City Council. We are now nearing the finish line on turning these studies and conversations into history-making policies. For the first time in our city's history, we underwent this entire research and incentive review effort because for the most part our development approach in the past has been project-based, not necessarily driven by public policy goals. and we thought it was critically important. If mixed income neighborhoods and shared prosperity are our top priorities as a city, our incentives and tools needed to reflect those policy priorities. These new policies will benefit neighborhoods and residents by spurring development of affordable housing, real and long-lasting changes for the people of Columbus. We will leverage the largest and strongest of our incentives for neighborhoods that need our greatest focus for private investment to make public-private partnerships.
The tools that the mayor talked about in making sure that affordable housing is baked into our projects. So the core principle of these recommendations:
build a certain amount of affordable housing in order to utilize a tax abatement. Also, single-family residential rehabilitation projects will qualify for abatement, which means homes like some of the grand Victorian era properties near where we are right now that we passed by on the way here can be revitalized for tax credits. Our new policies also put in place requirements for businesses based on average hourly wage, number of new and retained jobs, payroll, and length of lease or ownership of the property. We know that incentives work as a tool to spur equal growth through the city, instead of concentrating them in already thriving areas. Where we are standing right now is an incredible public-private partnership, another great example of the Columbus way, between Casto and CMHA that will bring a mixed income development to this neighborhood. Just a few blocks from here, you will find similar investments being made in the Gravity and out-of-town projects. As I said in January at Poindexter, abatements and incentives are public resources. If they weren't being offered and leveraged for public-private partnerships, they'd be flowing to levy agencies and school districts and so forth. These are public resources. So if we're going to leverage them to help encourage public and private investment to lift up families and neighborhoods, it has to be done for the public good. While the city cannot control development, we know we can influence it. And it is our responsibility to ensure that these public resources are being used for the public good and to advance our community's goals. And that is just what we are doing with these new policies that are heading to council next week. Having a policy-driven incentive and abatement program is so important. What do developers ask for? They ask for clarity, consistency, and knowing exactly where we are and what our priorities are. And I think with this policy-based, data-driven, research-based approach, based on our public policy goals, this will provide the clarity and the focus that our private sector is looking for. It's now my honor to introduce our great partner in this work, Councilmember Liz Brown.
It's such a beautiful day in Columbus that I'm tempted to leave my sunglasses on, but I think our communications director will be mad at me, so I'll take them off, and excuse me for squinting. Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you for your leadership in bringing this study about. It was one of the first things that you said to the Department of Development that you wanted to see done when you came to office. And as then chair of the Development Committee for City Council, I appreciated that so much, because my background before I ran for council was working in our Economic Development Department. And I have great respect for the work the department does and the bread and butter of how they make positive change for the city of Columbus is to have the right tools in place. So Mayor, when you came to office and said, let's look at our tools, let's update our tools, it was really a critical turning point. Once the study was returned to City Council, again, I was development chair at the time, we hosted 4 public meetings, 5 stakeholder meetings, 4 in various neighborhoods around the city, to open up the books and share with residents what our consultant found, what they found when they looked at the data in Columbus. And not only did we share those things, but we wanted to hear from them what their priorities are, from our residents across the city. What are your priorities in harnessing this market energy? What public benefit do you want to see from our incentives? And whether it was the couple hundred people who turned out to those meetings, or conversations with people like Mr. Weiler, who's been saying this for a long time, I know, sir. What we heard really to a person was people wanted to see Columbus maintain itself as a city where people can afford to raise a family, where the middle class can feel a sense of security, and where anybody will have the opportunity to join the middle class. That starts with housing. So we knew that that was the priority for the study, to incorporate, or the priority for the results of the study, to incorporate the tools that the mayor talked about in making sure that affordable housing is baked into our projects. So the core principle of these recommendations are that no two neighborhoods are exactly alike. These proposed updates make sure that our policies in each neighborhood reflect that they're harnessing that market energy into a public benefit. This is historic change in our city because we believe in the importance of affordable housing. I want to highlight that even with these policy changes, we recognize tax incentives on their own will not maintain mixed income housing in rapidly growing neighborhoods, and they won't on their own drive new growth in neighborhoods that are struggling. They are one tool in a toolbox. We need to continue to have private sector partners who believe in the importance of affordable housing, nonprofit sector partners who believe in that importance, public leadership that believes in that importance, because in order to truly keep Columbus strong for all families, it's going to take that cross-sector commitment for decades to come. So I want to thank every resident who turned out to our hearings and helped inform these recommendations. It's absolutely critical. And I want to thank the mayor. I really want to thank our council leadership. Council member Jiza Page is chair of the Development Committee now, and has been chair of the Housing Committee since she came to council, and has really pushed the envelope in making sure all of us remember that core priority of affordable housing. Thank you, Council President Hardin, for your leadership as well. Without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Development Chair, Councilmember Jiza Page.
And good morning, everyone. It is certainly a beautiful day, but what is most important and historic is really to be here as the City of Columbus, talking to you all about the changes to our tax abatement policy and providing more affordable housing options for our many residents across this city. The need for safe and decent affordable housing is immense, and the lasting impact it can have on families is undeniable. Last year, the U.S. Census Bureau estimated the population in Franklin County to be over 1.2 million people, making it, as we know, the most populous county in Ohio, and Columbus the most populous city in Ohio. However, we have an estimated gap of 54,000 units of affordable housing for low-income residents in our county alone. The core principle of our housing abatement policy is to foster private sector investment to build mixed-income neighborhoods. As chair of the Housing Committee, I have been working diligently to increase access to affordable housing, and I believe that the implementation of this policy is a critical step. It is our objective to seek input from the community, developers, and our partners, which have helped guide the formation of the proposed policy changes. Therefore, on Wednesday, June 20th, the Economic Development Small Business Committee, we convened a public hearing on the proposed changes to the city's tax incentive policies. The intention of that hearing was to review the proposed changes, which were based on a series of public meetings held by Councilmember Elizabeth Brown following the release of the study. And that study provided support to encourage commercial, industrial, and residential development. We listened to our residents, we listened to developers after that hearing, and the council will convene a second public hearing on Monday, July 23rd at 3 p.m., which will be co-sponsored by myself as well as Councilmember Brown, and it will be in council chambers. This hearing is to discuss proposed amendments to the legislation based upon feedback that we've received. I stand ready to continue working with the Mayor, Councilmember Brown, Council President Hardin, and with the Department of Development to implement the final policy recommendations and legislation at Council, while helping to transform the city into one of the fastest growing economies in the nation. These incentives focus on creating more affordable housing opportunities throughout Columbus in all of our neighborhoods. I would like to thank again my colleague, Councilmember Brown, Council President Hardin, and Mayor Ginther for their efforts on the study, and also the Department of Development, who we have a few members who are here. I know Director Shoney is in Honduras right now, and we definitely thank him for all that he has done and will continue to do. This policy makes significant changes to support affordable mixed-income neighborhoods in our existing post-1994 community reinvestment areas. And as I talked about, we would like to continue to just encourage and thank our partners who have been with Mayor Ginther and been with the city since day one. And our partner who is here to speak with us this morning is Mr. Robert Weiler.
Thank you, Jaza. Well, it's great to see everybody. I'm awfully glad you're here, and I have to tell you, I'm awfully glad we're here, because a little over 2 years ago, I would tell you we did not think we'd be here. And I want to just relate to you a very brief story that tells you how important private-public partnerships are. We were encouraged by the city to build affordable housing, and that's what we wanted to do. And we said we will definitely do that. And we put all the numbers together, and unfortunately, the numbers just didn't work. We didn't care about making a big profit, but we didn't want to lose money. And how can we break even? And we said to then Mayor Coleman, we need help if this is going to happen. He says, what do you need? And we said, we need three things. First of all, we need infrastructure. We need to have the utilities and streets and sidewalks and such. We need to have the city participate in the infrastructure. Secondly, you're insisting about having a garage, which we know about standing here, and we want a garage too open to the public, but it costs money, as you know. And thirdly, you want to set aside a portion of our apartments to be for workforce, to make them affordable. And that was the main reason we got into this development in the first place. But unfortunately, again, when we did all the numbers and we showed them to the city, to the mayor and to his team, which included Director Shoney at the time, and showed him they just don't work. It couldn't happen. And so thankfully, Mayor Coleman at the time, and now fortunately Mayor Ginther is taking it to another level, for which we are greatly appreciative, as well as our two council people who are here. Thank you so much, both of you, as well as President Hardin, who I saw a minute ago. But I will just tell you, we hear a lot about incentives. Are they good? Are they bad? This project would not be here without the incentives. That's the truth. We would not be here. And whether we make a profit or not is still questionable. And I must tell you, that is not uppermost for us. What is uppermost is seeing that our city does have its share of affordable housing. And from one who has had the good fortune of building some upscale housing not far from here on High Street, this is not what we're building, and that's not what we want Franklinton to be. We want Franklin to be affordable for all people. Now, the person who did all those numbers for us, I'm going to ask Brent Sobachek to raise his hand, and the reason, and clapping would be in order, he's raising his hand and not coming up here to speak because if any of you know what it means to have a bad sciatica, that's what he has and can hardly sit, but he wanted to be here, so thank you for being here. And thank our other partners too. Mike Kane's here from the Smoot Company and the Smoots are builders. Michael Kelly, with whom the Weilers have been partners forever, is here. The Kelly family and the Weiler family together. The lead has been taken by Casto, who's here, and our fifth partner is Metropolitan Housing. So the five of us thank you all for what you've done. Lastly, let me just say that we are hopeful that this project will be the catalyst for many more projects, whether we're involved or not, as we see Franklinton as really a dynamic area for the future of the city. So again, thank you, city officials, for making this possible.
I need no introduction, Mr. Wilder. My name is James Irvin. I have the honor of being the Vice Chair of the Board of the Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority. And on behalf of our Chairman, Stan Harris, who sends his greetings, and our President CEO, Charles Hillman, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. We help people access affordable housing, and partnerships like this help us develop, renovate, maintain housing, and promote neighborhood revitalization. We believe that collaborating through public-private partnerships will help fulfill the need for affordable housing in Columbus. And some of our greatest partners as we stand here at the River and Rich project are with us today. First and foremost, we want to thank Mayor Andy Ginther for his leadership and commitment, as well as Council Members Brown, Page, and President Hardin. We thank you, and we know that together we can continue to grow and create more collaborative efforts that result in these amazing neighborhoods and projects. The partnership between CMHA and Casto, as well as the Robert Weiler Company, the Kelly Companies, as well as Smooth Construction and Simcoe, continues to make a difference in the communities which we live, and we are proud of these projects and the future collaborations we hope to work on. It's important to CMHA that we have public-private partnerships because those help yield the most positive results. And we have seen those around Columbus, whether it's at Legacy Point at Poindexter Place, or here at River and Rich. It continues to help us fulfill our mission to providing affordable housing that's so needed today in Columbus. We are creating more diversified neighborhoods. We are seeing students and seniors and young people living together, making a difference. Columbus needs more affordable housing, and we believe that through innovation and collaboration, that will come about. Thank you for having us here today. Thank you for your continued commitment in neighborhood revitalization. Thank you to our leadership, both in the public sector and the private sector. And we will continue to be a part of this, and we thank you all for your support. And with that, it's my pleasure to bring back up our Mayor, Andy Ginther.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So two quick things that haven't been mentioned yet that I want to at least touch base on. Why this policy change is so important. Another important reason. The number of seniors in this community is going to double in the next 20 years. And a big part of the age-friendly Columbus work led by Fran Ryan and President Pro Tem Stenziano was all about trying to figure out how seniors can age in place in their neighborhoods. That's just another critical reason why this policy-driven change is so important to make sure that mixed-income neighborhoods are for everybody, regardless of their place in life. And then secondly, there is a sense of urgency for this. I have the great honor of working with great American mayors of great cities across this country. And if you go to Denver, and if you go to Austin, and you go to Seattle, all of those mayors say the same thing. I wish we would have started on this work, mixed income neighborhoods and affordable housing, sooner. Those communities are in near crisis. We're not in a crisis yet. We have time. But we need to go about this in a thoughtful and aggressive way if we want to make sure that every family in every neighborhood throughout this great city is able to share in our success. This policy, this plan, this effort will help chart that path. But the time to act is now. Thank you all for being here today and appreciate all your support.